From the School of Journalism and Mass Communication at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, this is Carolina Week.
Good evening and welcome to Carolina Week, the weekly student-produced newscast from UNC-Chapel Hill. I'm Jacqueline McClary.
And I'm Fred Shropshire. So good to be back in Chapel Hill. Thank you for joining us. We begin with a story that has people in Chapel Hill and across the country talking.
T.D. Evans joins us now with the changing student reaction to Carolina's basketball team. T.D.?
Jacqueline and Fred, changing reactions indeed. The Carolina basketball team has gone from the national media's whipping boys to campus heroes after just one weekend's worth of work. A season's worth of frustration redeemed by one weekend of stellar play. A team and coach that had been battered and bruised for 4 months receive a hero's welcome home. And a campus that expects a winning program gets what it demands.
This is a big basketball school, so they deserve, they should make it to Sweet 16 at least every single year.
This was just an 18-13 Carolina team going into the tournament. So, with an inconsistent team, there's bound to be different reaction from fans to this Sweet 16 run.
I was a little surprised. I was pleasantly surprised.
I kind of knew they had it in them, you know.
They've played this well earlier in the season. It was just kind of shaky. I mean, it was inconsistent.
Well, I felt like, first of all, they didn't deserve to make it due to their first round, loss to Wake Forest.
And even the players know that they have finally become the Tar Heel team that everyone expected.
We definitely deserve the criticism because everybody had high expectations for this team, including myself and everybody else on this team.
A lot of people were hard on us this year, but at the same time, we probably deserve some of the criticism. Some of it we probably didn't, but we just rolled with the punches.
But in the end, it doesn't matter how Carolina managed to stay alive in the NCAA tournament. What matters is that we all get another weekend to see where this roller coaster of a season ends up. Carolina will take on Tennessee in the South Regional Semifinals Friday night in Austin, Texas. Game time is set for 10:15 p.m. And we'll have more coverage of both the men and women's basketball teams and their impending games in the Sweet 16 coming up a little later in sports.
Okay, great. Thanks, TD. In other sporting news, intramural teams will gain another type of victory. Carmichael's intramural fields are getting a makeover, complete with new AstroTurf. Artificial grass will replace the existing dirt and sand that students now use. The late UNC Chancellor Michael Hooker was instrumental in securing an anonymous donation for the renovation project. Director of Campus Recreations Martin Pomerantz says this project is long overdue.
It's just something that we've been embarrassed about for a very long time, and I think this, it's the eastern entrance to campus. It's very visible. But basically, our students just deserve better than what they've had for a very long time.
The project is scheduled to begin in April. The fields will be closed for the rest of the semester, but will reopen in the fall. While UNC-Chapel Hill students were enjoying spring break, state legislators toured UNC's buildings to determine funding needs. Along with administrators, representatives, and senators from the Joint Select Committee on Capital Needs made their way through Venable Hall's tight and twisting paths to find flaws. One lab that houses expensive science equipment has a leaky roof. Carolina's facility needs weren't restricted to science buildings either. Committee members also had to duck their heads under these steam pipes and low walls while viewing Hill Hall's music library. There's no word on when building repairs might begin, but UNC officials hope to eventually tear down Venable Hall and the music library to build improved facilities.
If you can't find a place to park on campus, you better think again before parking illegally. You'll probably get a ticket. Carolina Week's Heather Higgins has the story.
Things like these are quite familiar to UNC students and faculty. Even guest speakers and other visitors have a tough time finding a place to park. Parking is an issue, but tickets are a bigger problem.
UNC's Department of Public Safety is fully staffed for the first time since November of 1996. What does this mean for you? Unless you've got a parking permit like this, you're probably going to see more tickets like this on your car.
Permits are difficult to come by because many students
can't afford it.
Buses seem to be a popular choice of alternative transportation, but Tommy Johnson says the busing system is sometimes unreliable.
Bus system's pretty good, except erratic, because I think I may have missed my bus today because it came early, and usually it's late.
So sometimes it's a problem to get to campus by bus, and you can't drive without a permit. That leaves walking and biking for those who live near campus. And for those who live miles away, your best bet is to leave your house early, bring plenty of quarters, and try to find a meter. In Chapel Hill, I'm Heather Higgins, Carolina Week.
Student parking permits are distributed based on a priority system developed by student government. You must apply for a permit months in advance. It's a system that requires patience.
High gas prices may be tough on the wallets, but some drivers are finding another way to fill their tanks. They're not paying at all. The number of people driving off without paying for their gas is increasing across the area. Several gas station owners are being forced to crack down on the drive-offs by having customers pay before they pump. The average price for a gallon of gasoline in Chapel Hill is now $1.45. Officials say gas prices should level off near summer.
After a week of fun and sun, some UNC students came back to an unfortunate surprise.
Find out about the darker side of spring break when we return.
UNC-TV brings you the best seat in the house, yours.
Some North Carolina residents are still in shock following a deadly accident at a local school. One boy died Wednesday morning when a minivan crashed into the front of Smithfield Middle School. The 87-year-old woman driver of the minivan was pulling out of the parking lot when the van suddenly went in reverse and jumped a curb traveling more than 60 feet. 5 students were taken to Johnston Memorial Hospital. Classes continue for students, and a crisis team has assembled to help people deal with the tragedy. Smithfield police have impounded the minivan and say it's too early to discuss charges.
Many spring breakers returned home happy after a week of relaxation, but some students weren't happy for long after hearing from the police. Carolina Week's Jenny Beaver has more.
Happens every year in Chapel Hill. Students pack up their suitcases and lock their doors to enter the week-long world of spring break. But what some find once they come back home quickly pulls them back into reality. UNC senior Chris Jennings.
We were broken into, which has happened a few times to each of my roommates, all at different locations. And it seems to happen every time the students of Chapel Hill go on vacation. They lifted all the cushions, even of the couch that I'm sitting on now, to find change. They stole our change cup. So we can't really put our finger on who these people were.
Because of an increase in breaking and entering crimes around Chapel Hill during spring break, Police Captain Bob Overton says that they tend to beef up security by sending out special task force, especially around housing areas populated by students.
We'll pull some officers from their regular patrol duties and specifically assign them to certain areas for B&E.
Jennings says he thinks the police have been as helpful as they can be.
They helped us out as far as letting us know the target audience of who they might think it might be. They said they're going to take fingerprints.
So students, before you take your next big vacation, a few reminders. Ask a neighbor to pick up your newspapers and mail, and be sure to leave a car parked in front of your place while you're gone. You don't want to invite potential burglars. In Chapel Hill, I'm Jenny Beaver, Carolina Week.
While police can't provide any statistics, they do say that breaking and entering is a bigger problem during student vacations, and they urge students to take precautions.
UNC students resume the daily grind as, we're sad to say, spring break comes to an end. Students have returned from Spring Break 2000, and with them came some unfortunate tales of spring break horror. Not everyone had a relaxing experience of the tropics. Some had just the opposite.
Session with the Student City people. And we get to our orientation session, and they were like, oh, well, y'all don't have a hotel room. Because we had been bumped from the Negril Beach Club, because the Negril Beach Club had overbooked by like 500 people. It was ridiculous.
I feel like I was treated somewhat by the hotel, not by the planning of the trip. Like, I don't believe that anybody knew that they were going to have to pay that much more.
Spring break didn't work out the way some people wanted it to, and to make matters worse, we all had to come back to gray skies and rainy days here in Chapel Hill.
The big day is almost here. In just 2 months, the class of 2000 will march into Keenan Stadium for spring commencement. Carolina Week's Lee Skinner went to ask Provost Dick Richardson a question on the minds of many graduates.
How much does commencement cost?
Absolutely nothing.
So you don't need any tickets?
No tickets required.
And so commencement is completely free?
Absolutely.
That just sounds too good to be true.
So we decided to take a closer look. Graduates are expected to wear a cap and gown to the ceremony. Seniors can pick up this outfit at student stores between May 8th and May 21st. Price for seniors, $20. What about a class ring?
On top, most guys put the NC, which is the official monogram.
Michael Merritt of Art Carved sells class rings in the pit. He calls rings wearable diplomas. The cost? Between $150 and $300. You plan to let everyone know about your special day, right? Then you'll need to buy graduation announcements. Student Stores has order forms. The cost? $40 for a pack of 25 personalized announcements.
So how much have we spent so far? Let's see, that's $20 for the undergraduate cap and gown. We'll go middle of the road on the ring, so that's another $250. And we'll order 50 graduation announcements. That adds another $100 to the total. The bill so far, $370.
Anyone coming to town for the big day? They'll probably want a place to stay. How about a room at the Carolina Inn? That will cost you $225 a night. The inn requires a 3-night minimum stay that weekend. $675. The new total, more than $1,000. The concession stands at Keenan aren't open on graduation day. That means heading to one of Chapel Hill's fine dining establishments. Lunch for 4 on Franklin Street comes out to about $60. So the grand total, $1,100. Of course, that's just an estimate. Don't forget, the ceremony is free. In Chapel Hill, I'm Lee Skinner, Carolina Week.
Of course, that $1,100 is the high-end cost of graduation. Seniors can spend as little as $20 on commencement if a cap and gown is the only thing they want to buy.
That $20 sounds like it's more of what's in Fred Shropshire's budget for
Mine
graduation.
too.
Well, the calendar says spring, but the temperatures are still on the chilly side.
Up next, weathercaster Kimberly Stewart clues us in on where the temperatures will go from here.
The steps of Wilson Library receive no sunshine on early winter mornings, so it's chilly there if you don't have that double-shot caramel espresso. Surrounded by forever green magnolias, the steps are a fine place to study, or at least pretend to, while you watch a border collie chase a frisbee in the quad. No one knows the real Carolina like a student. Carolina Week, the student news show.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. We have ignition. We have liftoff. Join the next mission aboard the Moorhead Planetarium. For more information on Sky Rambles, call 549-6863.
I just came back from the Keys for spring break and walked outside this morning, and the change is drastic.
Yeah, it was warm probably where a lot of people were, but when you return home, it's pretty cold, and you know it's officially spring, but it feels like winter weather. So let's take a look at our weather question of the week. We have, what area in the continental U.S. receives the most annual rainfall? A, Seattle, Washington. B, Miami, Florida. C, New Orleans. D, southwest mountains of North Carolina. Now be careful because this could be a tricky question. Taking a look at our video, whether you were relaxing on the beach or playing with the dog, spring break was a time for everyone to enjoy peaceful weather, even if you weren't a student. Carrboro's Anderson Park had something for everyone, feeding ducks, walking by the pond, or just chilling out. The weather wasn't exactly sunny and bright, and here, no swimming was allowed. And you know, the weather didn't allow it either. But that didn't stop the ducks. They're always permitted to wade in the water. Austin, Texas is our weather city of the day. And if you don't know it already, our men's and basketball team will be on the road to the Sweet 16 in Austin. We're cheering for those Tar Heels, maybe even hoping for a next trip to Indianapolis. This weekend, weather in Austin should be great for any kind of outdoor and indoor activity with highs in the low 80s and sunny skies. Just like in Austin, our weather also looks pretty good. It should definitely look better than this past week. A ridge of high pressure will push into our area for the start of the weekend. Sunshine will be abundant for Friday with a high of 75 degrees and Saturday almost identical with a high of 74 degrees. On Sunday, we'll see a return of humidity as clouds and possible thunderstorms will fade some of that sunshine out. Now, we're looking at highs in the low 70s and lows in the mid 40s. A weak front will push through late Sunday evening, continuing the chance of an isolated thunderstorm into Monday. But, you know, warm temperatures are still expected for Monday. This next weekend may actually have been a better time to head out for spring break than last weekend. Beachgoers can expect comfortable temperatures in the mid to high 70s and lows in the 50s. Evening temperatures will still be fairly warm to go out. Mountain temperatures will be a little cooler and the air will have a bit more moisture as that front takes its time to move through the mountain region. Showers and thunderstorms will be the theme for the weekend. Lows will range from 42 to 47 degrees, just depending on where you are, and highs will reach around 70 degrees. Speaking of the mountain thunderstorms and showers, our answer is D. It's kind of tricky because most of us probably would pick something else. It's southwest mountains of North Carolina, and this mountain section actually receives over 100 inches of rain annually. And you know, this is actually 3 times as much as we get here in the Triangle.
Wow.
Okay, great.
Thanks for weather.
Thank you. Tar Heel fencers are on guard for their postseason play. T.D. Evans has that story coming up in sports.
And of course, he has more on those postseason charging men of Carolina basketball.
The Ronald McDonald House is a nonprofit organization that provides a home away from home for families of children being treated at UNC hospitals. Since opening in 1988, the house has welcomed more than 1,000 families each year to stay at this safe haven. The house relies heavily on community support. How can you help? Become a volunteer. Help the house that love built. The Ronald McDonald House, the house with a heart.
Don't get mad at me. Don't. I didn't mean to do it, okay? Please.
I'm
Just don't
asking
get
you a
mad
few
this time.
questions. Why are you
Please.
jumping to conclusions?
Please.
I haven't done anything. I'm
Please,
just asking you a
don't
few
hurt me.
questions.
Stop hitting her!
You pitiful.
Stop it! No!
Change is possible. Call the Family Counseling Service at 403-3534. We can help.
Now, TD, this basketball team is full of surprises.
Fred, did you have Carolina this far in your bracket?
I'm ashamed to say, don't tell anyone, but I did.
I don't think you're the only one. Now be honest, this time last week, did you really believe that North Carolina would still be alive in the NCAA tournament? The Tar Heels proved all doubters wrong by first knocking off Missouri Friday night, then stunning top-seeded Stanford 60-53 2 days later. Freshman Joseph Forte hit 2 crucial threes during Carolina's decisive 10-0 run in the closing minutes against the Cardinal. Ed Cota played every minute of both games in Birmingham as a senior point guard dished out 20 assists in the 2 contests to become just the 3rd player in NCAA history to record over 1,000 career assists. The Tar Heels played perhaps their best defensive game of the season Sunday, as UNC limited Stanford stars Mark Madsen and Casey Jacobson to just 10 combined points. Head coach Bill Guthrie says that type of defense is king this Tar Heel tournament run.
I thought when we defeated Maryland here and won 5 out of 6 games in the middle of the year that our defense really was effective, and then it wasn't as effective for a while, and I think it's come back.
The Tar Heels will next face an athletic Tennessee squad, which got past the 2nd round for the first time in school history by knocking off defending champion UConn. Similar teams have given Carolina trouble this year, so there's little doubt as to what the Heels want to do.
They're very good. They're very athletic. I think we're going to have to slow the game down because they're quick. We're better basically in the half court.
I think we want to slow it down a little bit while they want to get up and down the court, force a lot of turnovers. We want to take it a possession by time, really hit the boards hard, and play good defense and keep the game around in the 60s.
And of course, the men aren't the only ones marching on. Sylvia Hatchell's Lady Tar Heels punched their ticket to the Sweet 16 by blowing out Rice 83-50. The game was basically over before intermission. Carolina went on a 15-0 first half run and never looked back to advance to the program's 4th straight Sweet 16 appearance. LaQuanta Barksdale scored 27 points to go with 10 rebounds, while Nikki Teasley added 16 points and 9 assists. Next up for Carolina is the West top seed, Georgia. The Lady Bulldogs advanced to the round of 16 with an 83-64 win over Stanford. Georgia presents a balanced attack with 4 players averaging double figures in scoring, highlighted by twins Coco and Kelly Miller, who averaged more than 15 points per game. Carolina and Georgia were square off Saturday in Portland, Oregon. Tar Heel fencing is taking a stab at the NCAA championships Thursday through Sunday at Stanford University. Senior Megan Newman is battling on the women's side. Her weapon of choice is the saber. And freshman Craig Peterson is competing in the men's epee weapon division. Junior Kim Triber also qualified but will not attend the tournament because of a 2 fencer per school limit. Coach Ron Miller's men's and women's squad finished with winning records in dual meets this season. Carolina baseball dropped its 4th game in a row Tuesday. The Heels lost 9-8 to unranked Towson after losing 3 straight games at Georgia Tech last weekend. The Tar Heels were down 9-4 Tuesday in the bottom of the 9th. Then they scored 4 runs behind the hitting of guys like Ryan Erie in an attempted rally. But the Heels couldn't complete the comeback against the Tigers, falling further into their mini slump. The Heels will host NC State for a big 3-game series this weekend and are hoping to get back on track. So almost a reversal of roles, guys. Baseball was playing so well, the men's basketball team was struggling. Now the men's basketball team's got it together, and the baseball team had a rough weekend last weekend.
So we'll just hope that the planets align and everything balances out. Thanks for sports, TD.
Thanks, TD.
It's a fun day at the park, but with strings attached.
When we come back, we'll show you what's blowing around in the March winds.
I wonder how Silent Sam feels about guarding the university from groups of 3rd grade kids. Maybe he's lost interest. We haven't heard his rifle fire recently. Still he stands, a steadfast defender of something. What is it? No one knows the real Carolina like a student. Carolina Week, the student news show.
Hey, Mark, where are you going with your piggy bank? I'm going to give my allowance to the Interfaith Council. Why? Mom says they help people, and they need our help, too.
The Interfaith Council helps adults and children through job training, family support, and education. They can't survive without community support. Every donation counts.
I want to help, too.
Call the Interfaith Council at 929-6380.
Hey, there are a lot of ways we can help our community. Spending our money in Orange County, whether it's filling up the car or shopping at local businesses, helps maintain our roads, improves our children's schools, and creates jobs. Spending your money locally helps us all in a big way. So remember, shop Orange first.
Airplanes filled with returning spring breakers weren't the only things in the air on Sunday. Dozens of kites filled Carborough skies at Anderson Community Park's annual Kite Fly. Carolina Week's Kimberly Stewart has the story.
Is it a bird? Is it a plane? No, it's not Superman either. These skies are full of kites. They come in all shapes and sizes. Butterflies, snakes, and even fish. Anyone was eligible to enter Carborough's 19th annual Kite Fly this past Sunday. What was needed? Just some people, kites, motivation, and decent weather. But the weather wasn't exactly the best. The superintendent of the Carborough Recreation Department, Kara Rosemont, says not enough wind is the kiss of death for kites.
Our wind is questionable today. Ideal is usually between 10 and 15 miles an hour, and we've probably got 5 to 6 today. So we're going to have kites up, and then with sporadic wind, they'll come back down.
And come down they did. Flyers tried and tried, some succeeded, and some just got knocked down.
According to history, Benjamin Franklin flew a kite in order to search for the key to electricity. Today, people here in Carborough are flying kites in order to find the best wind and to keep their kite in the air. And they're learning that it's not quite as easy as it looks.
Many times, strings were tangled and kites were injured. Have no fear, however, because the doctor was near. A kite doctor, that is. New kites, more string, and extra frames were provided to cure every kite. Competition grew more fierce as judges walked among the participants. Flyers ran faster, threw harder, and held on tighter to win the judges' approval. By the end of the day, everyone went home a winner, whether it was the best kite in the air or the best kite on the ground. In Carborough, I'm Kimberly Stewart, Carolina Week.
Carborough's Recreation and Parks Department sponsors the Kite Fly, as well as more than 100 other activities throughout the year.
That wraps up this edition of Carolina Week. Thanks for joining us. I'm Fred Shropshire.
And I'm Jacqueline McClary. We'll see you again next week with more news from around the UNC campus and the area.
If you'd like to contact Carolina Week, our mailing address is Carolina Week, Campus Box 3365, or you can reach us by email at carolinaweek@unc.edu.